Good evening. I hope you're keeping safe in the midst of the pandemic. Welcome to Nationwide. I'm Ruth Aguela. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the reconstitution of the board of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation after the expiration of the term of the board members appointed in 2016. Members of the new board, according to a release by Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, are Mohammed Lawal, Northwest; Tajuddin Umar, Northeast; Adamu Mahmood Atta, North Central; Senator Magnus Abe, South-South, Dr. Stephen D.K. South-East, and Chief Pius Akinyelure, South-West. The new board will be in place for 3 years. In the meantime, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation regrets to announce the demise of its immediate past group managing director, Dr. Mekanti Kachala-Baru, Friday night. Lydia Sampson has that report.
Dr. Mekanti Baru was the 18th Group Managing Director of the NNPC, a consummate mechanical engineer who steered the affairs of the corporation from July 4, 2016 to July 7, 2019. A statement by the NNPC Group General Manager, Group Public Affairs, Dr. Kenny Obatero, announced the passing on of Dr. Mekanti Baru after a brief illness in a hospital in Abuja. The release says NNPC Group Managing Director Mele Kyari expressed shock over the sudden death of Dr. Mekanti Baru, describing him as a man of exemplary character and disposition. Dr. Baru was 60 years old. In Abuja, Lydia Sampson, NTA News.
And President Muhammadu Buhari condoles with family, friends and professional colleagues of the former Group Managing Director of Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, Dr. Mekanti Kachala-Baru. The President, in a statement, commiserates with government and people of Bauchi State, management and staff of NNPC over the passing of the former GMD, who worked very hard to initiate reforms in virtually all departments of the corporation, bringing it up to speed with global trends and best practices. President Buhari acknowledges Dr. Baru's contributions to ensuring stability in the oil sector in Nigeria, with a more guaranteed supply and predictable price regime that weakened unscrupulous parallel marketers, especially during festive seasons. The President praised that the Almighty God will receive the soul of the departed, grant eternal rest, and comfort all those who mourn him. Let's bring you update on COVID-19. The Niger Center for Disease Control has announced 387 new cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria, increasing the total number of confirmed cases to 9,302. Of the 387 new cases, 254 are in Lagos, 29 in FCT, Jigawa has 24, Edo 22, Oyo 15, Rivers 14, Kaduna 11, Borno 6, Kano 3. Plateau, Yobe, Gombe and Bauchi all have 2 cases each. Ondo State has 1 case. Lagos now has a total of 4,377 cases, followed by Kano with 942, while FCT has 564 confirmed cases. 2,697 patients have been discharged so far, with 261 deaths recorded so far. Well, as countries and economies across the world slowly reopen, President Muhammadu Buhari is optimistic that Africa, which was the last to experience the coronavirus, will eventually flatten the curve. The optimism was expressed in an article in the Newsweek magazine. Some may say it is too early, that the crisis is still too deep, and the recovery too distant to dwell upon the future. But that is wrong. In terms of global crisis, it is critical to think of the life after and how, through the adversity, we can now refashion the world around us. President Muhammadu Buhari, in the article for the African continent, expressed that in this new post-coronavirus age, Nigeria and Africa, more broadly, wish to benefit the world, not be a drag on its resources or seemingly forever in need of aid.
What we need now, the president says, is for the vision of others to match that of Africa, already positioned to play a critical role in the remodeling of a post-coronavirus world that centers around manufacturing. For many lost decades, Africa's manufacturing moment has been on the launch pad, but never leaving it. But this time, the president says he is convinced it can be different. He noted that the continent has seen the West transform to a service-based economy, with much of its factory production relocated primarily to Asia, which has led to the creation of homegrown consumer goods from countries such as South Korea and China that are enjoyed around the globe as widely as are their Western equivalents. President Buhari stressed that it is simply untrue to think that jobs that build the goods of today, once departed from the West to Asia, can never return. What is true is that no country or continent has a permanent monopoly on manufacturing goods. However, the president believes the continent is positioned to seize the opportunity from these trends and in turn benefit the world. Nigeria, as a major global oil producer, have finally established a first private oil refinery, which is also one of the largest in the world. The Mambila power plant finally unlocked for completion after a successful decision by the International Court of Arbitration in Paris earlier this year removed impediments with the hope to electrify the homes of some 10 million people in the country. The nation, he explained, can now move forward with road, rail and power station construction thanks to close to $1 billion of funds stolen from the country, which has now been returned to the country. Nigeria already has and seeks to deepen further its relations with other Commonwealth countries, particularly in the interest of trade and the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement, which was signed by the president to bind the continent in mutual growth together for the first time. The president notes that Africa is an opportunity for all and a threat to no one. He says, and I quote, "We do not seek to grow our manufacturing capabilities in order to grant ourselves a seat at the table of some new great geopolitical game, but rather to play our part as partners in development." End of quote.
Let's look at other issues. The need for all hands to be on deck is important for African Development Bank, chaired by Dr. Adesina Akinwumi, to stay at the enviable height. This is the message of some African leaders in a release jointly signed by 15 former African presidents, including Olusegun Obasanjo of Nigeria, Boni Yayi of Republic of Benin, Haile Mariam Desalegn of Ethiopia and John Kufuor of Ghana, to show their solidarity for Dr. Adesina, who had been accused of violating the bank's code of ethics by the so-called whistleblower. The leaders said any form of distraction should be avoided for the bank at this critical time when Africa is battling with COVID-19. Dr. Adesina, who had been cleared of the 16 allegations leveled against him, has already announced $10 billion crisis response facility to support African countries, launched $3 billion to fight COVID-19 and provided fund worth $3 billion to support women in Africa. The Nigerian Private Sector Coalition Against COVID-19 has donated an equipped isolation center to Niger State government towards fighting COVID-19 in the state. Governor Abubakar Sani Bello, who inaugurated the facility located at the Hajj camp in Mina, applauded the initiative. Let's hear from Suleiman Kodogi.
The Nigerian Private Sector Coalition Against COVID-19 is a joint initiative of leading private sector leaders and the Central Bank of Nigeria, launched to support the government in the fight against COVID-19 in Nigeria. Items donated include 100 beds, 100 hospital overhead tables, mobile X-ray machine, and 1,000 personal protective wears, among others, worth millions of naira. Governor Abubakar Sani Bello appreciated the initiative and assured of continued partnership as well as effective use of the facilities provided.
You can't just produce children and you allow the society to take care of your responsibility. If you have the ability and capacity to produce children, then you must have the ability and capacity to take very good care of them and give them the required parental guidance. And that is my stand on this. We'll make sure we take care of them. Soon we're working on a policy that will ensure that everyone has the opportunity to go to school.
The governor noted that the isolation center will be put to use for the Almajiris returned back to the state from other parts of the country for medical examination before uniting them with their respective families. In Mina, Suleiman Kodogi, NTA News.
The last 1 year has been a period of reformation in the Nigerian Senate, a change that the actors themselves believe has redefined the Nigerian representative democracy by virtue of the nature of legislative and executive relationship. Ignatius Onkwo highlights the role of the Senate in the 5th year of the Buhari administration.
11 days after the swearing-in of President Muhammadu Buhari, the elected members of the National Assembly were inaugurated. With consultations and calculations were made, goals were weighed, and strategic decisions taken at the inception of the 9th Senate. And the resolve was to move Nigeria forward through a mutual and working relationship among institutions of government, but with observance of separation of powers, as provided in the Constitution. The first point of convergence with the executive was the screening of ministerial nominees. 43 of them were forwarded by President Muhammadu Buhari 14 days after the National Assembly inauguration, and all of them were confirmed after a painstaking screening. And that was the springboard that enabled the timely takeoff of the presidential cabinet, with more than 30 other appointments confirmed afterwards. The Senate continued with its patriotic disposition when it gave accelerated passage to the 2020 budget less than 3 months after it was presented by President Muhammadu Buhari, thereby reverting Nigeria's budget to January-December cycle.
For this budget, for us to be able to tell Nigerians that we have excelled, oversight function is very, very, very important.
I believe that this bill is tailored to meet the critical needs of the country at this point of our democratic evolution.
We have given them the budget by passing it. We have given them the finance bills. We have given them the public procurement amendment bill.
The role of the National Assembly in the sustenance of Nigeria's democracy through lawmaking was clearly understood by the legislators. Vivid and strategic, the Senate appeared to be firing on all cylinders to improve Nigeria's economy. Passage of bills that will shore up Nigeria's revenue was top on its agenda. The Deep Offshore and Inland Basin Act Amendment Bill, 3 Public Procurement Act Amendment Bills, and Finance Bill 2019 were passed and loan requests approved. Consultations, as one of the characteristics of representative democracy in the last 1 year, has been a major feature of the 9th Senate. Series of meetings have been held involving the executive and civil society organizations, some to resolve industrial disputes between unions and government, to review government policies and bills, and lately on the COVID-19 pandemic. In appreciation, President Muhammadu Buhari, in his communication to the National Assembly on Thursday, 29th of May 2020, commended the legislators for their commitment.
Let me seize this opportunity to express my deep gratitude for the patriotism, cooperation, and support of the leadership and distinguished members of the Senate in our collective efforts to amend the Appropriation Act 2020.
Mr. President is occupying an office, and that office is for all Nigerians, irrespective of whether they are APC, they are PDP, or whatever.
In the past, the machinery of governance has been hampered by delay in the passage of annual budgets and confirmation of executive appointees, a story the 9th Senate is rewriting. Ignatius Onkwo, NTA News.
Let's head to Lagos to join Jennifer, who is already standing by to bring us more reports on Nationwide. Jenny?
Thank you, Ruth. Now, Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has dedicated his first year in office to frontline workers in the battle against the coronavirus pandemic. Nosa Osula reports that the governor also virtually inaugurated 18 projects in commemoration of his first year in office at another ceremony held at the Lagos State Government House, Alausa, Ikeja.
The governor, while honoring workers in the health sector, who have been the frontliners in the battle against the COVID-19 pandemic, promised to improve on the facilities in the health sector.
We completed 25%, which is 1/4 of the 4-year tenure that Lagosians have given to us. We're indeed excited, we're grateful. We know that where we are, there's a whole lot that we can do, and And so we keep checking ourselves.
The governor stated that while it was not possible to take the risky part of the job away, it is absolutely necessary to make provisions for a robust compensation plan that would make the health workers feel appreciated, considering the risk they are always exposed to.
We're not out of it yet. We're not even sure we've reached the peak yet. But as we go along, they say delay is denial. We certainly cannot wait until when it's over before we begin to before we begin to acknowledge our own.
Meanwhile, at the inauguration of the projects, which include a concrete jetty with shoreline protection at Ikorodu, rehabilitation, upgrading and construction of road projects at Shomolu, Mushin and Badagry, over 500 houses and apartments in various parts of the state, and construction of classroom blocks in both primary and secondary schools in different local government council areas of the state, Governor Sanwo-Olu said even though the last 4 months have been very challenging in view of the COVID-19 pandemic, governments remain committed to the Greater Lagos vision. In Lagos, Nusa Usula, NTA News.
And to a fire outbreak, the source of the fire that razed Olaleye Market in Shomolu area of Lagos to the ground this Saturday morning is yet to be identified. Olumide Ogutola, who visited the market, reports that no life was lost and no injury was sustained. Hello, Olumide.
Thank you, Jennifer. For some time now, Lagos has been a bit quiet in the area of disaster until this morning when emergency responders were alerted that Olaleye Market in Shomolu area of Lagos State was on fire. As I talk to you now, everything inside the market has been completely destroyed. The pains in the heart of property owners who are just like other Nigerians, struggling to sustain their livelihood as coronavirus affects the global economy can best be imagined. Eyewitness account says the prompt response of the fire service authorities prevented the spread of the inferno to other areas.
But you just hear Bahu. What happened? Is it bomb or not? It's just come across. You have to come and see the light is too much. Nobody can face it. We run.
The only thing you just know is that you just see fire around after to 2.
There's no light. There's no light that can cause anything. Nobody in the market can see in the market. Then when the market is going, when the fire is going on, we try to locate the security to come and open the market for us so that people will rescue some their goods. But the security said that the key is not with him.
It was probably because the whole line was in darkness while the shop was locked. But maybe after the electrical, the PCN brought lights, maybe there was a spark from one of the shop, which was identified to be a computer shop, down the last line.
What we are appealing to the government is to come to our aid. This is our source of income.
As at the time of this report, the cause of the fire is still unknown. In Lagos, Olumide Ogutola, NTA News.
Thank you, Olumide. For more on Nationwide, stay tuned, but we'll take a break now.
I wish to once again commend the frontline workers across the country who, on a daily basis, risk everything to ensure we win this fight. For those who got infected in the line of duty, rest assured that government will do all it takes to support you and your families during this exceedingly difficult period. I will also take this opportunity to assure you all that your safety, well-being, and welfare remains paramount to our government. I am using this opportunity to express our deepest condolences to the families of all Nigerians that have lost their loved ones as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is our collective loss, and we share your grief.
We have observed the lockdown. We have practiced the measures in order to curb the spread of the virus, but we can do better. The coronavirus spread is increasing daily, and only together can we cut down the numbers and defeat the spread of the virus? Remember, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, and a recovered patient cannot spread the disease. Do not stigmatize. Do not hesitate to report any case, or if you have come in contact with anybody that has been infected with COVID-19. If you have cough and fever, please stay at home and call your state hotline. Find state numbers at www.covid19.ncdc.gov.ng. Remember, it is for your own good and for the good of every Nigerian. Let us do better and defeat the virus. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Alpha, say tomorrow still day on.
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they here, Abi?
Now, Beggy. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go no.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If you want to elect the new secretary, we fit to
Do one for WhatsApp, or for Skype, or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate
This social distancing. It is not negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Thanks for staying tuned. For many decades, Africa and indeed Nigeria have been confronted with leadership challenges. While many believe that African leaders lack the right values to drive development, others are of the view that the followers are also not playing the expected roles. It is against this background that the Niger Prize for Leadership organized the first national leadership dialogue with the theme, Rethinking Leadership, Vision, Creativity and Capacity of a Transformer. Doyin Dia reports.
Africa, a continent blessed with abundant resources, yet bedeviled by snail-paced development, most of which are a result of leadership. Discussants of this webinar x-ray the pre-colonial and post-colonial era, all of which have a mix of the military and democratic rule to address the leadership crisis in the country. Experts say there is the need to come up with policies that will engender national cohesion and integration, as well as build systems that foster peace, justice, and equity.
Everybody thinks that to make the country better, you have to point at the sitting president, you have to point at the sitting governor, you have to point at the sitting chairman of the local government, of course, national levels. Yes, politics has a role to play, but go to places in the society that need to be taught that whatever you are doing, no matter how good or how bad it is, it has impact on you and the society.
Discussants at this event are of the view that there must be a clear definition of leadership responsibility and carry everyone along. Abuja, Doyin Dia, NT News.
The Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development has condemned the killing of Nigerians by bandits in communities in Sabon Birnin local government of Sokoto State. A statement by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadia Umar Farouk, said it was shocking that terrorists operating as bandits would commit mass murder in peaceful communities where innocent citizens were engaged in agrarian life without pose and threat to anyone. Sadia Umar Farouk, while lamenting the displacement of innocent citizens from their homes, directed the relevant agencies of the ministry to swiftly commence action and work in collaboration with the appropriate agencies of the Sokoto state government in providing much-needed relief to survivors of the attack. Still on security matters, Niger State government has inaugurated a 15-man state community policing advisory committee to check insecurity bedeviling the state. Governor Sani Bello, who presided over the inauguration at the Government House, Mina, says the essence of the committee is to have a robust system starting from the ward level. Suleiman Kodogi reports.
The current security challenges bedeviling Niger State. The inauguration of the committee could be seen as the right step in the right direction towards complementing government's efforts in seeking solution to the menace. Inaugurating the committee, Governor Bakassi Bello said the best place to combat crime is the grassroots level, expressing optimism that with the committee in place, the narrative will change for the better. The Inspector General of Police, Muhammad Abubakar Adamu, represented by the DIG Training and Development Force Headquarters Abuja, Lawal Shehu, said the professionalism of the police has led to the successful implementation of the long-awaited community policing initiative that has been in the pipeline for a long time. The State Commissioner of Police, CP Adamu Usman, is the chairman of the committee, to be co-chaired by the Etunupe and chairman, Niger State Council of Traditional Rulers, Alhaji Yaya Abubakar. Other members of the committee include the Secretary to the State Government, representatives of the 3 senatorial districts of the state, and the relevant stakeholders. Suleiman Kodogi, NTA News.
And Port Harcourt is our next stop nationwide as we join Dibabari. Dibabari?
Ruth, and welcome to Port Harcourt. In line with the federal government's protocol on social distancing to contain COVID-19, the Nigerian Navy Secondary School, Burukiri, Port Harcourt, has inaugurated 2 newly renovated hostels. Flag Officer commanding Eastern Naval Command, Rear Admiral David Adeniro, represented by Commander Oluwatosin Abolanle, appealed to the students to make good use of the facilities. Ifeoma Mesa reports.
The 230-capacity newly renovated Otiko and Sedu girls' hostels have been in use since the establishment of the school. Inaugurating the hostels, Flag Officer Commanding Eastern Naval Command, Rear Admiral David Adenira, who was represented, said the renovated hostels are to provide an enabling environment for learning.
The FOC has been gracious to us. They just recently approved the renovation of these 2 buildings to make life easier for students. They are encouraged to use it wisely, use it well.
Commander Oluwatosi Abolanle noted that plans have been made to win the war against COVID-19 when the students resume fully.
We had made provision for facilities for them to be able to wash their hands as often as possible. They will also provided sanitizers before they went home.
Some staff of the school applauded the good gesture of the flag officer towards the renovation of the hostels.
Immediately they come back, we make other spaces available for them to stay for social distancing.
Nigerian Navy Secondary School Port Harcourt was established in April 1994 as a boarding and comprehensive co-educational secondary school. From the Nigerian Navy Secondary School Port Harcourt, Ifeoma Omesa, NTA News.
Citizens and community leaders in Akwa Ibom State are re-strategizing with the police to expose and crack down criminally minded persons in their communities. At a security meeting in Etimekbo local government area, the people say there would be no hiding place to commit crimes in the area. Clement Bariquin reports.
Their stand is clear, and that is the fact that no longer will any individual commit crime and run to any part of Etimekbo, Ika, Abak, Ukanafon and Uroganam local government areas for protection. This assurance came having known that the task of community policing has been formally handed over to them through the Etimekbo local government and area command community policing advisory committees. The project, according to Akwa Ibom State Commissioner of Police, Emoimi Edgar, will bring to an end years of the Nigeria police seeing its duties as a function and not a process that must involve the people.
First thing you must expect immediately these committees start functioning is immediate reduction in crime, particularly at the grassroots and various neighborhoods all over Etimekbo.
All of them are coming together to partner with the Nigerian police to ensure that peace and security are sustained. And this partnership is basically defined by accountability and respect for human rights. From Etimepo local government area, Clement Barikui, NTA News.
We are done from here. For more on Nationwide, is back to Ruth. Good evening.
Thanks, Dibabari. 52 housing units of the Cross River State Social Housing Scheme have been allocated to Bakassi internally displaced persons with a take-off grant of 50 million naira to support those who intend to start a small-scale business enterprise. Paul Abel reports that the inauguration of the Ayade Social Housing Estate was held at Ifyang Ayong Community, Bakassi local government area of the state.
This is Akwai Korea. The Bakassi returnees have settled there for over 7 years, and they have been living in not pleasant environment. But that story is about to change.
At an occasion like this, the experience can better be imagined as beneficiaries speak.
If you want to narrate the story, the challenge that we face as a women, it would bond the entire month.
The environment is not so conducive to us. Bless the governor and bless the NTPA, bless everybody.
The inauguration of these 52 housing units, stakeholders say, is a step towards ameliorating the sufferings of the Bakassi people whose land was ceded to Cameroon more than 10 years ago.
I celebrate today because God has given me opportunity to put a smile on somebody's face. I could see a grandma dancing to her new home.
They are very large two-bedroom flats, all en suites, with visitor toilet.
The high point of the event was the handing over of keys of apartments one after the other to beneficiaries, which evoked lots of emotion.
The Bakassi people are naturally fishermen. Therefore, the location of this housing project is apt, as it affords them the opportunity to continue with their occupation. From Bakassi local government area, I am Paul Abel, NTA News.
Thanks, Paul. And from Cross River State to Akwa Ibom, where we hear tricycle operators in the state take to major street in Uyo metropolis in protest of alleged extortion by tax force and security agents. Kelvin Samuel reports that the group, among other things, demands a review of their daily ticket fees and other levies to align with the current economic realities occasioned by COVID-19.
The group, numbering well over 500 tricycle riders, defied the social distancing directive to register their displeasure over alleged extortion by security agents and task force team, which, according to them, have become their nightmares. The leader of the group, Abasema Ntong, who spoke on their behalf, maintained that the situation has become unbearable as they often spend all their daily earnings on either tax force or security agents only to return home with little or nothing to fend for themselves and families.
They disturb us too much. They will break us, and maybe you go and find change to your customer. Before you don't know whether now which key they use, and they will just drive your keke. But when a passenger does not put on the face mask, instead of them warning the passenger, they now quote them.
When contacted, the Commissioner of Transport and Solid Mineral, Akwa Ibom State, Ono Etum, however, assured that his ministry is doing everything possible to ensure smooth and unhindered operation of all transporters, especially through this COVID-19 pandemic.
As a ministry, we have distributed close to 10,000 face masks to all the keke riders in the state. And I believe, by the grace of God, we will continue to do more for them.
It is the hope of the people that government and relevant stakeholders will wade into the matter in order to find lasting solution that will return normalcy to the capital city. In Uyo, Kevin Samuel, NTA News.
Let's head to Kaduna to find out the latest as we join Suleiman for more on Nationwide. Suleiman.
Thank you, Ruth, and welcome to Kaduna Network Center. Turning unfortunate calamity to a favorable story that spells good omen for the future of the society. It's a testament that the COVID-19 is not, after all, without the glimpse of beauty to behold. In this report, Majama Adamu chronicles some ingenious responses on Nigerians that see boom through the boom of the pandemic.
A stitch in time saves 9, so goes the old adage. Imagine what could have been the fate of Nigeria if the pandemonium of coronavirus pandemic that forced global shutdown had set in at the time Nigeria was heavily dependent on importation of rice to feed her populace.
I think the situation would have been starvation, so to say, because before there was a total dependence on foreign rice and other food for local consumption.
That averted crisis of hunger, job losses that could have equaled the numbers gainfully employed along the stretched value chain of production, processing and marketing of homegrown rice, as well as the billions of dollars that would have been lost by way of forex and subsidy on importation, are issues experts believe Nigerians now take for granted. Many believe this homegrown solution to the nation's agricultural challenge has set the stage for ingenious Nigerians to venture into indigenous invention in other fields, especially the health sector, where the pandemic of coronavirus has necessitated such innovations. The latest breakthroughs here in Kaduna State are these automated walk-through disinfection tunnels developed by the Nigeria Defense Academy to augment the fight against the COVID-19.
You work first by sanitizing your hand. There is a point where you sanitize your hand, and then it takes your body temperature, and then you move on and it will spray mist, chemical-based disinfectant, and then you go.
The same ND had earlier invented ventilator, a critical equipment in the treatment of patients of COVID-19. That has since been under consideration for upgrade, certification, and mass production. A similar accomplishment was recorded to the credit of a team of engineers from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, who invented both solar and electric-powered hand sanitizer, and a ventilator that has been endorsed by the Nigeria Raw Material and Research Development Center.
Face masks like toothpicks were before now on the exclusive list of the nation's unnecessary and avoidable importation. But the changing narrative of today are good omen for better times to come. As the saying goes, we shouldn't be great to begin. We should rather begin to be great. In Kaduna, Majama Adamu, NTA News.
Many thanks indeed, Majama. Jigawa State COVID-19 Task Force has commenced test running of molecular laboratory for suspected cases. Governor Muhammad Badr Abubakar says the laboratory is awaiting accreditation by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC. Muhammad Musa Askira reports.
The molecular laboratory, according to Governor Muhammad Badr Abubakar, when accredited by the NCDC, will reduce the stress of sending test samples to faraway places and its attendant delay in receiving the test results. Having installed all the necessary facilities for testing COVID-19 patients and other contagious diseases, the molecular laboratory, according to the governor, has been test running its functionality since Monday as it awaits the accreditation of the NCDC. Speaking on the progress made so far in the fight against the novel coronavirus, Governor Muhammad Badr Abubakar stated, out of 241 confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Jigawa State, 151 patients have been cured and discharged, representing 51% of the state's total infection so far.
You will all agree with me that this fight must continue unabated until we reach our destination, a COVID-free Jigawa State.
While commending the frontline health workers in the state for their relentless efforts, Governor Muhammad Badr Abubakar appealed to residents in the state not to stigmatize against the cured patients of the disease. From Dutse, Muhammad Musa Askira, NTA News.
Nationwide continues in Abuja after the break.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19, a corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 2255 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
This is a very important message.
Operation Wear Your Mask, especially for people who don't old. No forget, your body no tranga like before. You not even tranga like your children or your grandchildren. So therefore, always wear your mask for this pandemic period. No dey to receive visitors, so even if na your grandchildren. Make extra mask where you go fit wash, make like 2 and dash your neighbor 1. And if you dey come out for house, wear your mask always. And if you come back, wash your hand with soap and running water to avoid coronavirus. Make you for live long for your children and your grandchildren. No forget, Operation Wear Your Mask, especially for people who don't old. Protect me, I protect you. Na coalition of societies for the right of older persons in Nigeria, COSROPIN, join body with National Orientation Agency, NOA, bring on this message.
The number of the COVID-19 cases in Nigeria is increasing daily, with many more tests ongoing. The battle of testing, isolating, treating, and attending to the affected persons rests heavily on the shoulders of our health workers, constantly putting their lives on the line and at risk to contain this virus, save and protect the lives of millions of Nigerians. To these health workers, we at the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, on behalf of millions of Nigerians, say a big thank you for all that you have done and are doing. To the security agencies enforcing the lockdown and every other frontliner, we say thank you for putting your lives on the line to save ours. There is no amount of words that can quantify our gratitude. Thank you. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Thanks for being there. Landmark legal reforms, the fight against corruption, strengthening of the justice sector to engender renewed confidence, the congestion of correctional facilities and recovery of stolen funds are among the many achievements of the 5 years of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration in the justice sector. Head of NTA's Judiciary Desk, Vera Chumuba, in this report tells us what informed the developments and what legacy judicial experts advocate to make the sector more robust.
Before 2015, the judiciary in Nigeria was burdened with credibility crisis, and at the inception of President Buhari's administration, he advocated a strong judiciary system to effectively fight corruption with a promise to overhaul and transform it. Charting the roadmap to a dynamic justice system 5 years after gave birth to justice reforms at various levels of the justice sector. The establishment of the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption was the first committee set up by the President Buhari administration to drive the reform agenda. It was established to promote reform agenda on anti-corruption in the prosecution of war against corruption. Beyond recovery of looted funds, the fight against corruption has been largely successful due to diligent investigation and prosecution of cases, which has sent many to jail. The Presidential Advisory Committee also trained federal and state prosecutors, reviewed existing laws, initiated whistleblower policy of the federal government. On domestic legislations and international agreements, the mutual assistance in criminal matters, an executive bill signed into law by the President in 2019, was unique. It facilitated the identification, tracing, freezing, recovery, forfeiture, and classification of proceeds of crime and prosecution of offenders.
Convictions have been had in that regard with respect to cyber crimes, corruption cases, and so on and so forth, have been on the high side. Forfeitures that have been made in this regime is also something of note.
At least, if not for anything, we've seen the fact that people are now afraid that, especially politically exposed persons, they are now afraid that they can be caught. If not for anything, that fear at least has gone a long way to instill some level of restraints to public officers. We've seen a lot of.
The first fundamental reform of the Nigerian Prisons Act in almost 50 years, resulting in the establishment of the Nigerian Correctional Service to replace Nigeria Prison Service. The launch and installation of the new Prison Information Management System, a pilot project for Administration of Correctional Service, was Naval. 86 Nigerian Correctional Service locations across 16 states are expected to benefit from it. In a bid to decongest Nigeria's prison population, President Buhari this year granted 2,600 prisoners amnesty, accounting for 3.5% of inmates in Nigeria. Some legal experts commended the president for the achievements in the sector, however say more can be done.
If Buhari really wants to leave a legacy, as far as the judicial process is concerned, he just needs to set up an independent electoral court that is focused only on election matters.
The funding of the police force is very key in the administration of criminal justice. The training and retraining of the Nigerian police force is very key in the administration of criminal justice.
We must understand that to strengthen judiciary is to strengthen democracy. A strong, virile judiciary is an essential requirement for the attainment of a strong democratic government. In Abuja, Viera Chimoba, NTA News.
Thanks, Vera. And from the judiciary to education, lack of disruptive quick at the federal level, particularly after 2019 elections, is one notable feature that enhanced the education sector performance in the last 5 years. Well, the importance of this should not be lost on us, as a change in leadership would have led to a halt in the trajectory of Adamu Adamu. Education correspondent Rashidat Mustafa Olagunju brings us up to speed with the happenings in the sector.
As a result of this continuity, the Ministerial Strategic Plan 2016 to 2019 gave way to the education sector's short and medium-term blueprint work plan. To ensure that where our goals stopped in 2019, it continued in 2018 to 2022 plan with an expanded scope, thereby steering Nigeria's education sector in the last 5 years towards a consistent improvement in access, quality, equity, carrying capacity, infrastructural and personal development, and most importantly, addressing the Almajiri syndrome, which by extension will drastically reduce numbers of out-of-school children.
Frequent changes of policies, some of them made without adequate preparations, have created a kind of charade in the educational system. So, to be fair, this administration had to deal with what it was dealt with, the situation it had made.
Other strides in the sector include approval of specialized universities, including the Federal Maritime University in Delta State and the Nigerian Army University in Borno State. 6 new colleges of education, 1 in each geopolitical zone. Transfer of Almajiri schools to state government and credible scholars of Islamic education for effective administration.
Several initiatives have been introduced. One of the most important, you will agree, is the return of history in our curriculum. This is perhaps one of the greatest disservice to our educational system.
From 2015 to date, federal government has disbursed over 170 billion naira as matching grants to universal basic education as grants to state and the FCT. Government also mandated that Paris Club share of states that refuse to make available their counterpart fund should be channeled for that use. State and private providers also received 8 billion naira as special education grants. Another 34 billion naira was made available for Teachers Development Fund to state and the FCT.
The student-teacher relationship has also improved over the years, especially with the basic education segment of the education sector.
Various agencies in the sector also come up with various innovations to enhance the sector, particularly the examination bodies that have a lot of measures in place to curb malpractice and fraud. Not forgetting the reduction of registration for unified tertiary matriculation examination fee from 5,000 naira to 3,500 naira. Noting all this, observers are of the view that a lot of mileage will be covered to push the sector a notch or two higher before the expiration of the present administration. Rashidat Mustafa Olagunju, NTA News.
And for more nationwide, let's join Ogochukuka in Benin.
Good afternoon, Ruth. Thank you for joining us. 11 more patients who have tested negative for coronavirus have been discharged from isolation centers in Edo State. This brings the total to 69. Elizabeth Omoko has an update on situation at some screening centers in the state capital.
Also allowed to exit the facilities are 1,159 suspected cases, including 340 persons of interest and 819 line-listed contacts that have completed the compulsory 14-day follow-up and tested negative. 2 more deaths were recorded as at Saturday 30th, totaling 13 from the 262 confirmed cases. The remaining 180 active cases are being managed and responding to treatment. Since the onset of the outbreak, Edo State government has screened over 300,000 persons. This is part of the state government's goal to screen 80% of the state's population. Meanwhile, low turnout characterized the screening centers visited.
The screening process has been going on fine.
Health workers are calling for more protective kits.
We need more of the face mask because more of the children, we need to give them face masks too.
Most of the market women actually, they have their own speculations that the mask we're offering them is from a particular place and they cannot use it.
The capacity test, they say, is integral to the success of quick response for identification, isolation and treatment of confirmed cases. In Benin, Elizabeth Omoko, NTA News.
Ruth, is back to you for the remaining parts of Nationwide today.
Thanks, Ogochukuka. The Federal Road Safety Commission Board has on 29th May 2020 approved the promotion of 10 Corps Commanders to the rank of Assistant Corps Marshal and 32 Deputy Corps Commanders to the rank of Corps Commander. The approval was subsequent to the virtual meeting of the FRSC Board on promotion of senior officers, where the promotion exercise was diligently deliberated upon. A statement by the Deputy Corps Public Education Officer, Imcham Sambo, said the promotion takes effect from 29th May 2020, while urging the newly promoted officers to be more committed to their duties. The board chairman, Malam Bukari Bello, says the promotion exercise is part of the Commission's drive towards rewarding excellence and hard work in line with the administrative philosophy of the present leadership of the Corps. Corps Marshal Dr. Boboye Oyemi also charged the officers to put in their best in the course of their duties as their new ranks call for more focus and dedication. Let's talk sports. Stakeholders advise 11-man committee set up by the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development on the National Sports Festival Edo 2020 to ensure safety of athletes and officials. Gift George has more on sports update.
Sports administrators charged the 11-man committee set up to decide the fate of the National Sports Festival Edo 2020 to do a thorough job by working with all the stakeholders in ensuring that all necessary facilities are in place, while the officials of the NCDC are also involved to ensure the safety of the athletes and officials before new dates are suggested for the sports festival.
Whatever they are recommending, they should make sure that everything will be in place.
What is on ground in Edo State in terms of health infrastructure to support a gathering of people to come in for the festival?
Meanwhile, the Association of Nigerian Women in Sports, NAWIS, has appealed to the Cross River State government to settle over 9 months unpaid salaries of Pelican Stars Football Club.
As an association, we know these girls, being what they are, it's not an easy situation to feed and maintain oneself without salary for upward 9 months.